Primetime Debate. 20 MLAs or members of Legislative Assembly from the Aam Aadmi Party that governs Delhi are set to be disqualified. The Election Commission has recommended the disqualification to the President of India and he is expected to accept. The move will not impact the government in Delhi because even after losing 20 MLAs, Arvind Kejriwal's government is comfortably placed with 45 MLAs. The hit is a political one, with opponents demanding that the CM step down. At the crux of the issue is office for profit. These MLAs have been disqualified for holding the post of parliamentary secretary soon after the AAP government was elected. They stepped down nearly a year later following a slew of complaints, but that hasn't deterred the Election Commission from now disqualifying them. It's key today to understand the office for profit issue and the impact this will have on the Aam Aadmi Party. Joining us on this today is KTS Tulsi, a senior advocate. He's also Rajya Sabha member from the Congress Party. Aditi Fadnis, political editor of the Business Standard, and on the phone line with me is senior leader of the Aam Aadmi Party, Ashutosh. Welcome all. Mr. Ashutosh, I want to come to you first because your party knew this was coming. The complaints had begun from 2015 and now you will be facing some sort of a mid-poll test. How prepared are you?
It's not a question of preparation. First of all, let me tell you that where is the office of profit? Because appointment letter of parliamentary secretary to the MLAs which has been given, it is very clearly written that no salary will be given. They will not avail any perks at all. So when these two, there is no pecuniary benefit as such, then there is no question of office of profit. So we ourselves are very astonished and surprised about the judgment which has been given by Election Commission, though officially we had not been communicated anything and neither it has been confirmed whether it has been forwarded to the President itself. So, and secondly, the Delhi High Court long back has already struck down the government of Delhi's notification appointing them as a parliamentary secretaries. So when Delhi High Court has already struck down, that means there is no position called as parliamentary secretaries. So in the absence of no office of parliamentary secretary, and still if Election Commission is executing on that, that raises doubts in our mind that whether it is a political decision or it is a legal decision. And so we have gone to the court and we are very confident that we'll get justice from the court itself.
Mr. Tulsi, you are foremost a constitutional lawyer, and I would like you to begin by explaining to our viewers that what is the office of profit issue in itself, because not everyone perhaps is understanding why this has become an issue at this point.
You see, it's rather unfortunate that the government elected under the Constitution chooses to completely ignore the provisions. Article 164(1)(a) prescribes that for other states the limit is 15%. What happens is that there have been governments where every MLA was given some post or the other. Now that's hardly a way of parliamentary functioning. You can't. That's another way of compensating the MLAs for supporting you. That may not have been the situation, but the question is, are the governments going to do indirectly what they are prohibited from doing by the Constitution of India? Are the chief ministers going to be completely unmindful of following the Constitution letter and spirit? And also it's an ethical question that you try and skirt by giving a different designation. It doesn't alter the situation. The purpose is that the efficient government will be that which is stable without any perks or office of profit being given to other MLAs, and you will devote yourself to the development of the state or the area without being hounded by others that you want loaves of profit, loaves of office. Whether you call it by parliamentary secretary or whatever, and whether you say they're drawing salary or not, these offices do have the status. The status is office. office is of profit. Profit because you profit in terms of the status, and also you are providing them official vehicles with all the symbols of ministerial symbols of recognition by the people. I think that we need to mature as a democracy, and we must understand that you can't skirt the constitution only by saying that, well, there is a technical difference here and a technical difference there. That's not what it. You must understand abide by the spirit of the constitution and the intent of these provisions.
Okay, let me come to Aditi Fadnis to explain to us the impact of this. And Aditi, if you could come in on how this is really going to hit the Kejriwal government, because in terms of numbers, they're fine. They're still comfortably placed above the halfway mark. But there are demands being made that the chief minister step down. He's had to let go of a lot of his ministers in the past. It's been sort of a checkered tenure.
Well, without going into whether it is a checkered tenure or not, I just want to make two or 3 points. Firstly, the Kejriwal government itself moved a law which was debated in the assembly on giving the issue of the office of profit new definition from retrospective effect, which means that they had studied the law and they were afraid that something like this could happen to their MLAs, and therefore wanted protection for the MLAs whom they had appointed as parliamentary secretaries. Secondly, the Kejriwal government alone is not the first, nor is it going to be the last to appoint parliamentary secretaries from among a pool of MLAs which are so large as to be unable to accommodate them anywhere else. It's true that in many states, particularly in the Northeast, parliamentary secretaries is a perfectly acceptable practice. And it is, of course, an office of profit. I mean, I don't think there's two ways about it. Whether they accept a salary or not, they are given rooms in the secretariat which have a value, a monetary value. They do have secretarial assistants, and clearly the Election Commission has gone on the basis of that to say that they should be disqualified. But as I said, the Kejriwal government is not the first, nor is it going to be the last to use this as a way to, how shall I put it, keep its MLAs satisfied. What a parliamentary secretary does is, I don't know exactly what they do. In this case, they were supposedly appointed to facilitate the government's work. Now, they can facilitate the government's work without being parliamentary secretary as well. But in this case, the Kejriwal government was so keen to have them that it moved in legislation in the assembly. I mean, it's all politics by other means. And as to the second part of your question about what will happen to the government now, well, of course, Mr. Kejriwal doesn't have to resign, nor does anybody in the government have to resign on this issue. But it does raise questions about the by-elections which are going to be held if these people are disqualified, and if they do not get the same kind of result in the by-election as what obtained earlier, then it raises other questions about the continuance of the Kejriwal government after the next election.
Okay, Ashutosh, I want to come in. I want you to come in with comments on the points raised by KTS Tosi as well as Aditi Fadnis, that it is an office of profit whether these MLAs took salaries or not. Now, it has also been argued that these MLAs stepped down, so the case should be dropped. This is what the Aam Aadmi Party went to the EC and said, which they did not agree to. Was there an attempt to sort of bulldoze your way through office of profit because of the vast numbers you enjoy in the Delhi Assembly? It didn't work, but the party knew this was coming. This was a problem area.
See, I think first, let me clarify for the benefit of Mr. KTS Tulsi, for whom I have great respect, that he's confusing with the office of profit. There are officers which have got certain salaries and emoluments, which is attached with the office itself. That comes with the appointment letter. Here, the appointment letter which was issued by the government of Delhi, it very clearly mentions that no pecuniary benefit will be given to these parliamentary secretaries. They were just to help ministers in their functioning. And no, they don't get any salary from the appointment letter itself. They do not get any bungalow. They don't get any benefit of any kind. Neither they are provided, neither they availed any car or anything else. Even they don't have a place where they can sit and work. So what he is getting confused is that there are certain offices which are attached with the salary and other pecuniary benefits. So even if the person concerned does not draw any money from that, but just because he holds that office and there is an emolument attached, so he comes under the purview of Office of Profit. I think Jaya Bachchan's case was exactly like that, and Sonia Gandhi's case was something like that. But here, the letter itself, the appointment letter itself clearly states that no pecuniary benefit of any kind, of any nature will be given. So it doesn't fall into the category of Office of Profit. That is the point number which I am saying. The point number 2, which is very, very important, is that Election Commission has not given any chance to these MLAs that they should present their case before the Election Commission. It's a clear-cut violation of the law of natural justice. Even the basic tenets of jurisprudence is violated here. How can you pronounce a capital punishment to an accused without hearing its version, without going for a muqaddamah? So Election Commission, I don't know in what hurry it was. Till now, the case was whether it falls under the jurisdiction of Election Commission, whether they can hear this case of Office of Profit. Election Commission has decided that it falls under the jurisdiction. So the official hearing of the case was to begin. Every MLA was preparing to present their case. But Election Commission, out of its wisdom, suddenly decided that these are disqualified, and they have sent the recommendation to the President. So this is exactly, it looks like the Election Commission was under some pressure from the PMO or God knows from where, and they had made a political decision to destabilize Aam Aadmi Party's government.
Mr. Tulsi, do respond on that, because the Election Commission has been at the receiving end from the Congress Party as well, when any of its decisions have not sort of been in line with what the party wanted. Just on the basis of law and rules and your reading of the Constitution, is the Election Commission well within its rights to make this decision without a hearing from the MLAs?
I don't know whether they were heard or not. I don't know whether they were given an opportunity of hearing or not. Of course, they are entitled to a hearing, and I haven't seen the order. But all that I can say is that chief ministers think that they are above the Constitution. That's not a good thing. They enter office on the basis of a Constitution. They take the oath to swear to uphold the Constitution, and then they go around behaving in this fashion. This is grossly irresponsible. I personally think that we should, particularly those popularly elected leaders like Mr. Kejriwal, who is so erudite and well-read, shouldn't be making these kind of mistakes. Office of Prophet, the Prophet is eminence. Eminence is the Prophet. Do you give them this office only because otherwise they're going to leave you? Or they could form 1/3 and defect or whatever. The question is, we need to respect the spirit and the intent of the Constitution and not skirt it by saying that we'll brazen it out because it will take courts and the Election Commission forever by the time their term will be over.
What about the point that Aditi Fadnis made, that it happens in some states in the northeast, it has happened before and it will continue to happen, though of course that doesn't justify one chief minister skirting the rules, as you call it, but that there is a precedent for it.
Yes, of course, it has happened. I know that it has happened in Punjab, it has happened in Haryana, but then the courts have come down heavily on them also. And one didn't expect this from an idealist like Mr. Kejriwal, that he will treat the Constitution in such a way. He should actually be following the letter and spirit of the Constitution and set an example before the other popular leaders. He is not only popular, he is also well educated and therefore has a greater responsibility.
That light, Aditi Fadnis, comment from you on how this is going to impact the Aam Aadmi Party politically, because as it is clear from even Ashutosh's response, they are going to paint this as a latest in the series of attempts, as they say, to victimize the party, to push them down. Do you think that's something that will resonate with the Delhi electorate and that will be tested possibly in the days to come?
It's possible that maybe in happier times this would have been another cause célèbre with the electorate as another way in which people are trying to manipulate Aam Aadmi Party and trying to subjugate it. But as I said, that might have been in happier days. The Aam Aadmi Party has taken a lot of decisions, has behaved in quite an arbitrary fashion with its fellow colleagues. And I think the latest in that list is Kumar Vishwas, who is shouting from the rooftops about the arrogance and the arbitrary treatment that has been meted out to him by the Chief Minister and his cohorts. So now, without going into the merits of who is right and who is wrong and so on, all this has not left a very good taste in people's mouth. And they are now actively discussing among themselves who is right and who is wrong. Now, if that had not been the case, then the Aam Aadmi Party could have gone to town on the anti-democracy issue that the parliamentary secretary matter represents. But when you are yourself being accused by your own colleagues of being undemocratic, then frankly it does not lie in your mouth to say that your political rivals are being undemocratic.
All right.
So I'm not sure how.
Sure.
I'm not sure how far this course is going to run.
All right.
Enough. I mean, the fact is that you have to brazen it out and fight it out politically. I don't think there's any other way, barring the courts, to fight this out.
Perhaps some comfort to the Aam Aadmi Party will be the numbers on their side. Whether they can hold on to them is the key question. Tough challenges ahead for Arvind Kejriwal. Thanks so much, Aditi Fadnis, KTS Tulsi, and of course Ashutosh, for joining us this evening on Primetime Debate. Well, the topmost court in the country has determined not once but twice that Sanjay Leela Bhansali movie Padmaavat will be shown across the country now that the censor board has cleared it. But even now, it would be difficult to say that the movie will run from the 25th of January peacefully in every state of India. 4 states including Gujarat, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh and Haryana banned the movie even after a clearance from the censor board. The Supreme Court struck that down. Today, a fresh appeal to stall the movie wasn't entertained. Despite this, the threats continue. Threats to movie hall owners who will run the movie, threats to the makers, and even to people who want to watch it. This is important because this filmmaker has changed the name of the movie, tweaked scenes, made every effort to appease those who protested. If his right to creative freedom and business is not protected, even after the Supreme Court orders, it would raise questions on whether the rule of law is followed in India or not. To speak more on the issue, I'm joined this evening by noted ad film director Prahlad Kakkar and film critic Mayank Shekhar. Welcome to both of you on Primetime Debate. Mr. Kakkar, today I want to talk about what this says and what message it gives to the creative community, including yourselves.
No, forget about the creative community. We are soft targets. We are marginalized because people think you can take pot shots at people because we are very high profile. We have no real protection. We don't have a vote bank, and so forth and so on. Okay, the yahoos on the other side are claiming that they have a vote bank. There are people on the street who are willing to come out and say, we'll do Johar and we'll jump into a fire and we'll do all kinds of things. So there's, politically, you have to now decide that do you want to follow the rule of law, come hell or high water, despite a small minority of people who might not vote for you, and whether that becomes critical in an election like the Gujarat election, which is why this whole thing started. The whole thing started because nobody wanted to take on the Rajputs or the Karni Sena because they had a 2% population shift in Gujarat. Now, people will think that, oh, that 2% is going to make such a huge difference between the run-up thing, so let's appease them. Now that you let the can of worms out of the can of worms, how are you going to put them back into the can?
Yeah.
You see, so no politician looks long-term at the kind of damage that they do when they decide arbitrarily that they have to appease a vote bank. The moment you appease a vote bank, you're breaking the law. Not necessarily in the word of the law, but eventually somebody is going to take the law into their own hands, like these guys have done. Now, who's going to put the genie back into the bottle?
Mayank, I want to ask you about what people are saying within the film fraternity as well. Because Sanjay Leela Bhansali changed the name of the movie. I saw a report today that said that they're using CGI to make sure that Deepika Padukone's midriff is not seen, so they'll cover that up with some special effects. Is it all worth it at the end of the day? I know there are crores and crores of rupees on the line, but what does it do to creative license and what does it tell future filmmakers?
No, I think a very scary precedent has already been set. And the moment you begin to bend, you will be asked to crawl and therefore do far more looking ahead. And with each film, and especially in the past 2-3 years, we've noticed with each film, there are all these what used to be called fringe groups that have essentially become mainstream groups now. They get direct appointment with the state governments. The state government cites their meetings to accept bans, and what happens to the filmmaker who may have a lot of soft power, but soft power essentially leads to them becoming soft targets, and this has been going on for too long. But I think the big fear right now is in the states that had banned. Okay, now this is possibly the sanest debate that I've been part of in this particular regard. I was just part of something else right before this, where here I am talking about there was a Karni Sena person there, okay? Yeah. And he's calling everyone, he's asking everyone to go to Pakistan, okay? Everyone who's on that panel should be shifted to Pakistan. I tell him that, we don't need to go to Pakistan. By telling us to go to Pakistan, you've turned this place into Pakistan to begin with. Okay, it's a rhetorical statement. Next thing I know, he's threatening me. There's a person next to him, who says, why are you threatening him? You're only seeing him on the screen. I'm sitting next to you. Why don't you beat me up? Both of them get up. They're almost at fisticuffs. I mean, this is the level of debate we've reached because we've given all these people the platform that they never imagined they would. And a lot of it has to do with the politics. As Prahlad mentioned, politics of appeasement. There are people quietly sitting knowing that there is a vote bank there. And if we say something, we might lose it. So let's just keep, fanning this particular fire. And it's reached this level where, it's just Padmaavat, but I think if you set a precedent like this, where people were allowed to get away, saying things like, I will cut that actor's nose, cut their head. Yeah. Sanjay Leela Bhansali himself was beaten up, roughed up on the set. The set was vandalized. Nothing happened to these guys. So, hell, you know what I mean? If this is the route we're going, God save this country.
This is interesting you bring that up, Mayank, because just before the show started, Mr. Kakkad and I were speaking and he was asking me why there is no one from the Karni Sena here. And I just want to share with everyone watching what I told him, because I don't think they're the story. The story is the government who has to ensure that a Supreme Court order is executed. The story is the people who have to make sure that a businessman and a filmmaker get their right, that any Indian who wants to watch a movie, and I don't know if it's good or bad or whatever, gets the right to. And we should not waste time in distractions of people who claim they, push a cause.
True.
So let's focus on the story. And my question to you, Mr. Kakkad, then is, that why go as far as the Karni Sena? The CBFC, the censor board, got together an outside panel, and we don't know what their expertise is, to review this film and dictate to the filmmaker what he should cut and chop to make it palatable. It still isn't. Didn't your fraternity, and I'm using that term loosely, lose the battle on that day?
No, that's not a question of the battle. See, what had happened was, because the various state governments had actually gone into a state of appeasement, because it's a very small minority. How many people are there in the Karni Sena? 300, 400, 500 people? Lock them all up. I mean, it's been done before. The fact is that you allowed them a platform. The media allowed them a platform because they were getting TRPs, and they actually bhadkaud them and said, "Bolo, bolo, jo kuch bolna hai, kuch nahi hone wala aapko." State governments turned around and said, "Bolo, bolo, kuch bhi bolo, kuch nahi hone wala hai. We're not going to do it," and it became state governments, vote banks versus a filmmaker. Let's take it out of that ambit. It's not a filmmaker; it's the right of the Indian public to want to or not want to watch a film depending on their tastes. And if they don't like the film, they don't have to watch it. You can't ban something that has been passed by the CBSV as not being particularly distasteful, or what do you call, in your face, or nudity and sexual violence and everything else. And if it's absolutely okay for people to watch it, and they have now given it a U certificate, as a matter of fact, not even an A certificate, then the people of India have a right to watch the film. Now, if you really want to turn around and go into Rajasthan today and forget about this 2% minority with the loony fringe, and ask the average man on the road, do you want to watch the film? Just because he doesn't come out and start threatening everybody to cut their heads off means that they're denied their rights to what they want to do.
You know, we've been talking about vote banks for a bit now, and Mayank, I really want to take this discussion to a broader question. What about the vast majority of people who watch movies in this country? Now, that's a massive vote bank, quote unquote. Why aren't the people who make these movies, who have the soft power, using that power? Why isn't every filmmaker in India getting up and saying that if you continue this, we'll stop making movies? If you don't give us our freedom, then we don't want to do this anymore. I'm saying, where is that solidarity? Why is everyone so scared?
Well, it's not so hard to tell why they're so scared, because they also believe that the so-called protesters or the so-called loony fringe are essentially B or C or D teams of the main political parties to begin with. And, you know, and in that, they have no skin in that game. They just want to make I don't even think Sanjay Leela Bhansali is a particularly politically conscious filmmaker to begin with. I don't think he has too much to say for our present times. He makes entertaining films about song and dance. He makes operas, you know. And in fact, if you look closely, I mean, and as is true for this film from the ones who've seen it, he literally glorifies the Rajput community to an extent that may not even be historically correct. But he does it because, you know, he wants us to, because he makes feel-good films, and you know, these are people who are thinking about what a great past we had, which was the case with Bajirao Mastani as well. So at no point would he have ever thought this is going to turn into what it has, because I mean, I could still understand, because here's the guy, let's say like an Anurag Kashyap, here's a guy who's made a movie like Mukkabaz. He's just taking on the system head on through a sports film and saying, you know what, Bharat Mati Ke Jai, we'll take that statement and show it for how idiotic that is for people who claim to love their country but hate their countrymen. You know, so I can still sense how, you know, he would take on the fringe, because, you know, he is taking on the fringe through his film in the first place. People like Bhansali are like just flummoxed. Like, what happened? Like, you know, have you even seen the movie? I'm showing you as the greatest human beings ever born in the history of India. So
no,
I think
I know people who have.
No, I haven't seen the film yet. No.
Okay.
I know people who have, and there's nothing in it.
Right. Same here. Same here.
Everybody comes
and it doesn't surprise me.
Exactly what Mayank is saying is that they've glorified the whole Rajput tradition.
Yeah.
There is no movie to date which venerates the Rajputness and the bravery and the chivalry of the Rajputs. What are they talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, this is purely political rubbish, and it's, you know, they're standing and advising for whatever it's worth. But coming back to your question, as to why is there no solidarity in the film industry. You really don't know? They hate each other.
But if you let this happen to one of them, it's going to happen to everyone.
No, but nobody realizes this. Right now they're all gloating and saying, he's taken a hit and I'll be fine and we'll stay away from this kind of controversy, not realizing that when you let the worms out of the can, they're going to eat everything indiscriminately. Now the point is that the film industry has been known to have camps within each other. They much rather turn around and take it out on each other than take it out on the government or on the rule of law or whatever else it is.
Well, I'll just come back to this point. This story is bigger than about one movie, one filmmaker, or even about any one community. It is about free speech and the license to do business. Not even that, just to follow the law once the apex court has given its decision. Let's hope that happens and state governments do their job.
That's a failure of governance.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. I'll have to end it here.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll have to end it here. But thank you so much, Mr. Prahlad Kakkar. Pleasure to have you in our Bloomberg Quint studios. Mayank, thank you so much for joining us this evening on Primetime Debate.